A scheduled Porter Airlines flight from Victoria, British Columbia, Canada to Toronto Pearson International was cancelled on Thursday, August 6th, after it appears a child failed to wear their seatbelt and stood in the seat. This act of non-compliance pushed the flight past its curfew, meaning passengers became stuck until the flight could operate the next day. We explore this incident for today's video. Porter stated that it had already closed its doors and was preparing for departure when the child was identified as standing on the seat. The cabin crew and the child's parent attempted to buckle the child in, but were unsuccessful. The crew's decision to turn back to the terminal was made out of an abundance of caution, and the time it took to get the child and their parent off the plane dragged the flight departure past the airport's curfew. The airline has apologized to passengers for the incident and eventually was able to depart safely the next morning for its non-stop flight to Toronto. The outlet CP24, who interviewed a passenger on the flight, says that the child was quote-unquote obviously terrified and should not be blamed. This particular passenger, Arye Kozuk, says that he noticed flight attendants walking toward the back of the plane. Then he heard an overhead announcement reminding passengers that obeying flight attendants' instructions is required by law. CP24 goes on, explaining that 5 minutes later there was another announcement. Passengers needed to comply with flight attendants' instructions within 60 seconds or the plane was going back to the gate. At this point it's like, oh, something is wrong, said Kozuk, who adds that a flight attendant attempted to quell a passenger's frustration by telling them that the source of the delay was a young child squirming and sliding down under the seat in front of them, refusing to be buckled in. "I'm not going to lie, I never even considered the idea that it was going to be an unruly toddler. I thought it was an unruly adult," he said, later adding, "This was a child that was in a tube with 150 people. They're obviously terrified and their response was to try and hide under the seat in front of them. That's so different than a kid running around and screaming." The first-hand account notes that passengers were upset and unprepared to find a place to sleep, and the first person to give them information or advice was a baggage handler. Flight attendants, in chatting with Kozuk, told him that they hadn't seen anything like the child's refusal across their decades of experience. The passenger notes that, at least as of August 10th, he hasn't received any word on compensation from the airline. What are your thoughts on this incident? Let us know by leaving a comment. And be sure to check out Simple Flying's flight tracker. From live alerts and data on commercial, military and government flights, it goes way beyond your standard tracker. It was built specifically for AvGeeks, free and live, right at your fingertips. In addition to our daily YouTube videos, Simple Flying publishes over 150 articles every week. If you're looking for the latest aviation news and insights, visit simpleflying.com.